Charlemagne the God aired out some old grievances during his appearance on MSNBC anchor Nicole Wallace's podcast, The Best People.
Charlemagne blasted Wallace's own network, saying that they accused him of MAGA messaging during the 2024 campaign for amplifying voters' concerns. Let's listen.
You can't tout things like Bidenomics when people aren't feeling that in their pockets. You know, you can't just ignore people's criticisms of the border and chalk it up to MAGA messaging. I'll never forget when MSNBC did that to me. And MSNBC did that to me based off me listening to people in New York City, listening to people in Chicago, activists in Chicago, and them telling me what their issues with the border were.
Charlemagne also said one of the problems Democrats had was not listening to their constituents. Here's a little bit more.
Their issues weren't based on any type of prejudice for who was coming across the border. It was literally economics. It was, hey, these people are coming across the border and getting more resources than we are. And I remember me repeating exactly what I just said based off the conversations I was having with people actually in the street in these areas. And MSNBC said I was repeating MAGA messaging. I was like, damn, that means that y'all really are not paying attention to your constituents.
Charlemagne has also been critical of Democratic Party leadership. In April, he called for both Democratic leaders Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer to get primaried or get thrown out of office. He also coined the nickname AIPAC Shakur for Jeffries, to which it seems Jeffries has not responded. Good nickname, to be fair.
AIPAC. I like that.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I remember when he was talking about immigration and was frustrated with Democrats on that. Of course, the border is a couple different issues. There's just the border security and the dysfunction that results from having people illegally entering the country via that means, and causing some lack of safety for themselves and some and kind of disorder and dysfunction for Americans who live in that area, for swamping the kind of resources available. No one thinks that is good. No one supports that, but it really had gotten out of hand during the Biden administration and has greatly improved, and that's a good thing. And then there are concerns about the effects immigration are actually having on the society, which there's a couple different categories, fears about crime, and then fears about social services being swamped or abused, and then the kind of competition for labor is like the category. And I think that last one does appeal or apply to some people on the left. I mean, Bernie Sanders himself famously inveighed against open borders as a Koch brothers proposal. He came after me and my backers for supporting more open immigration.
Yeah, look, I mean, immigration obviously is, by its nature, a complicated issue. There are the elements that you mentioned. There are also, let's be honest, there are also xenophobic or racist elements to it as well. People fearful of the hordes, you know, who are coming in out of a racist or xenophobic or nativist impulse. But I think
fears that were applied to you and I, the Italians and the Irish.
They were, absolutely
despised by the native population, and now our people are despise the people coming up next.
Well, that's the thing. It's a very good book, actually, How the Irish Became White, which is all about that transition from the underdog kind of mentality to a class, Irish Americans, who were often very inglorious and unadmirable in their attitudes toward black people.
Right, Nick. I saw Nick Fuentes make this remark. I mean, he is becoming a big thing. Made this remark that New York should be run by the Italians and the Irish, and he was naming white groups that would not have been considered white people 100 years ago.
Right, the precursors to Nick Fuentes would have been massively...
Get those Catholics out.
Exactly. All of that stuff. Now, as relating to the Charlemagne thing, I think he does actually put his finger on quite an important point, which is the idea that if you raised any of the more legitimate concerns about immigration, you were, and at least he believes he was, accused of raising MAGA talking points. So it seems like he was talking, I think, primarily about the issue of A, competition for resources, and B, some of the sort of labour laws. Does it weaken the leverage of workers if you have a large undocumented or illegal population? All of those sorts of things. And then obviously got blasted for MAGA talking points. To me, that goes to a whole bigger issue, which is, well, firstly, the desire to just have people recite whatever the party line is, which we don't like, but also the fact that the immigration issue has been, I would say, a more difficult one for not just the Democrats in the US, but for centre-left parties generally to grapple with, because they don't want to give backing or legitimacy to the racist elements opposed to immigration, but they also don't want to seem completely cut off to the concerns of working class voters who were born in the US or born in the UK and are now feeling that they are failing to get the kind of support that might make a big difference in their lives because there's an enormous amount of money being funneled toward it.
I mean, it's been a tough issue for market or free or market-oriented parties that span the center left to the center right, because markets love immigration, frankly. They love immigration and free trade. They love openness. Labor is a component of delivering goods and services, just like raw materials are. And what a profit maximizing system wants is free movement of goods and raw materials and labor everywhere, and because that's what drives up profits, that's what creates capital. Right. So that's what the market wants, and if you get in the way of that, it makes the market unhappy. But in the process of allowing for that as unfiltered, as unfettered as possible movement, you get other effects, social effects, cultures, friction, butting heads, and that makes people uncomfortable, even if, but for instance, my understanding of the statistics is that illegal immigrants are not responsible for a disproportionate share of our crime. Of course, they commit crimes, as does everyone.
Else. Right.
But every time an illegal immigrant commits a crime, it speaks to it raises people's dislike of that category, and they say, well, they're illegal anyway. They shouldn't have been here at all. There should be zero crime from illegal immigrants because they've already broken a law. And that is I found that to be a persuasive argument for people, or one to argue, I think it's more complicated to point out, as I like to do, well, even if there are harms associated with it, you're overlooking the larger and more spread out benefits of the increases in economic productivity and the lowering of the cost of products that results from having a generally more permissive immigration system.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand the anger whenever someone who shouldn't be in the country commits some heinous act.
Sure.
I think everyone...
I understand. I feel it too. I share in the anger.
I think everyone understands that. I think that the bigger point is that the benefits of immigration are not... I mean, people have almost stopped making that argument, it seems to me, and that's a problem because, in fact, there are economic benefits. Now, there is, again, the separate argument about unregulated illegal immigration undercutting the bargaining power of workers in the host country, workers born in the host country. And that's something that definitely, the left overall has to grapple with a bit better than it has been doing, I would say. But there's a lot of demagoguery around the issue, but there are legitimate concerns as well. And I think that's what Charlemagne
if you do only have a high school education and you're in the service industry, it is not as obvious that the benefits to immigration are outweighing the competition for your job and the competition for the social services you're more likely to rely on for welfare or for the education system, if you're a less income person, you're not feeling those benefits, and so something certainly needs to be done to make sure those people are not left behind. But obviously we can't, an economic system that is based around just protecting those people from competition is one that's not going to be competitive on an international
Right,
scale.
right.
So it's not about, I don't want to protect them from the competition.
Sure.
We need to find some kind of way to provide for them as we move forward.
Well, yeah, and I would like a greater solidarity to be developed in a meaningful way between them and the immigrant populations.
Well, next up, the White House has decided to troll the left by joining the social media platform Blue Sky, my favorite place. We'll be right back after this.